Naked and Afraid Season 18, Episode 10, the season finale review. Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. If I had to give this episode a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a solid 5. While the episode wasn't entirely bad, it certainly was not an episode that I would want to end the season on. Now, the challenge location for this episode was in Illinois, and this was the first time this season that the location was in the United States. Even though the challenge location was in America, there are plenty of places within the country that make for a rough environment for survivalists on Naked and Afraid. The two survivalists for this episode were Fernanda and Evas. Fernanda is a marine biologist who practices survival and bushcrafting skills. She had also participated on a 21-day Naked and Afraid Latin America challenge about 3 years ago, which she completed by herself because her partner tapped out. The other survivalist is Evas. He's from Norway, and he has skills in hunting and fishing. So right off the bat, when I saw these two survivalists in their challenge location, I didn't have any concerns for their ability to work together or make it to the end of the 21-day mark and the extraction point without any issues. But then, I saw how the challenge unfolded. At the beginning of the episode, we see Fernanda and Evas meet one another, and there's instant chemistry. They are both impressed with what each other brings to the challenge, and they seem to be on the same path when it comes to getting along. They take some time migrating to their camping ground, but once they get there, it looks like a pretty ideal spot. The spot is in the forest and right near a body of fresh running water. Now, compared to the challenge location for the last week's episode, this location was extremely ideal. Fernanda and Evas then get to working on their shelter, and this is where things go from good to bad. The first incident involves Fernanda accidentally cutting herself with a machete while trying to chop down wood for the shelter. She suffered a deep cut to her leg, which had to be seen by the medic. I know that if I had suffered that type of injury, I would have tapped out and been long gone from the challenge, but Fernanda is built a little differently. And after a few stitches, she's told to get some rest before jumping back into action. Evas even vows to help her stay in the challenge by any means necessary. That night, the duo has a close encounter with a mountain lion, but of course, Naked and Afraid would never let any of its cast members get mauled by a hungry and violent animal. The next day, Fernanda and Evas work on completing their shelter, and before they can complete it, there's a heavy downpour which exposes flaws in their shelter and impacts their ability to get a good night's sleep. On day 5, they decide to go fishing, but by then, the water was muddy, which made it hard for them to fish in. Now, I don't know if it's the fault of editing or the fault of the survivalists, but why would Fernanda and Evas wait 5 days to go fishing? Why not go fishing after day 1 or 2? Evas brought a fishing asset with him, and I'm sure someone could have made some fishing traps because there's some crawfish and other marine life in the water that they could have caught and eaten. But with each passing day, the lack of food intake during the challenge has taken a toll on Evas, who was already pretty thin when coming into the challenge. I'm not sure if Evas had ever watched Naked and Afraid extensively or knew what to expect before coming onto the show, but most men who show up to these challenges with little to no fat on their bodies tend to struggle when they don't have anything to eat for more than 4 to 5 days straight. But Evas eventually decided to tap out of the challenge, which made Fernanda very unhappy. Now, from my perspective, I understood Evas' concerns when tapping out of the challenge. Up until this point, Evas had next to nothing to eat for about a week straight. And judging by his physique, he's used to eating at least 2,000 calories a day. Although Evas was a hunter, he didn't find any substantial source of food during his time on the show. Was it because there was little to no food at the location, or was it because of other factors? Who knows? What I do know is that Fernanda made it to the end of the 21-day challenge while only eating a grub and a frog. To me, that is complete madness, and I don't see how any of these survivalists can complete these type of challenges without there being some type of negative effects on the human body. I think the WTF moment for the episode would be Fernanda accidentally burning down her shelter on the night of day 20 while trying to hunt for some frogs in the dead of night. Had she accidentally burned down her shelter a few days prior to extraction, I think that Fernanda would have likely tapped out of the challenge as well. But this is the final episode of the season, and as I said before, I wasn't too happy with this episode being the finale. I do appreciate that the runtime for this episode was shorter than some of the other ones for the season, but judging by the way that the episode was edited, there were a lot of gaps in the passing time, and those gaps had an impact on the storytelling for the survivalist. In other words, the feelings of hope and inspiration that were present in the previous 2 episodes were certainly absent in this season finale. But this marks the end of the review. I want to thank everybody who saw my reviews for Season 18 of Naked and Afraid. As a content creator, I would normally post my new reviews on a day or two after the new episodes aired for the week, but I had a lot of personal stuff going on, which impacted my ability to meet deadlines for the show. Nevertheless, Season 3 of Naked and Afraid Last One Standing will be airing this Sunday, and I will be uploading my reviews for the show in a timely manner. So I hope to see you all there, and I look forward to seeing what the new season of Naked and Afraid Last One Standing brings. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.